It's now coming up close to 10 o'clock. Let me very quickly, in the first few seconds before we reach that time, introduce myself. My name's Graham Fern. I'm the chief techie nerdy person at Axon. And for the next 60 minutes, plus or minus, I'm going to go through the kind of best parts and the key parts of going through Microsoft Teams. I don't intend to keep the video running throughout, otherwise you're just going to have my head looking left and right as I'm looking at the various screens that I've got in order to run this. This will be run as a broadcast, a Teams broadcast, which is different from a regular Teams meeting. A regular Teams meeting is up to 250 people. The broadcast, which I'm doing now, is up to 10,000. Basically, this is a one-way traffic. I do all the talking, you do the listening, and at the end there's some Q&A. Obviously, a normal meeting is a interactive communication where everyone can talk and interact. So subtly different, but this is how this is going to run. So as you have questions as we go along, please kind of jot them down, and at the end I'll open up the Q&A session. The reason I won't do it in real time as I go along is I'm acting as both the presenter and producer, and there is a time delay between what I'm saying and what you see. So we will do that at the end. Okay, so kind of without any further ado, as it were, I'm going to make a start, and I will turn my camera off. I will say, for those that are viewing this, be it on a laptop, or maybe you're watching this on an iPad, even an iPhone if you've got a good eyesight, just make the screen as big as you possibly can so that you can see as much as possible. Okay, so I've just turned my video off, and I'm going to make a start. Right, well, first and foremost, let's just go straight into something that some people might be familiar with. I'm in the landing page of Office 365. For those that use this on a regular basis, this shouldn't be a shock to you. For some others that perhaps have the product but don't go via this interface, this is the main landing page. The point I'm raising here is I'm using a web browser. I'm on an Apple Mac by chance. But the device to which you interface to Office 365 is pretty irrelevant. So I don't care if it's a MacBook, a Windows PC, a tablet, Android, phone, Apple Mac, tablet, doesn't matter, iPhone, all fine. And I'm going to run Teams in a web browser also. You will see the icon here highlighted. I'm going to just flip over straight across into Teams and start the explanation of what we have here. I have set up some fictitious teams, but let me explain very much first and foremost what we have in place. Okay, so starting down the left-hand side is probably the easiest thing, because we'll talk about the navigation. It is important to understand the differences that what each of these little icons mean. I'm going to start here in Teams, but you can clearly see there are activities, chat, Teams, calendar, calls, files, shifts, etc. Now, what you might see if you've ever used Teams might look slightly different. What will be consistent is certainly the top four. Underneath here very much depends on the licenses you've got and or how configured by your IT administration team. So let's just stick with the key stuff for now. I'm going to start with Teams. So we have some teams here, some Acme Corp staff, finance, sales, and I have created a vanilla team here as well, so I can go through what they look like. Pretty straightforward stuff. So let me just put one thing forward to everyone who either is thinking about using Teams or perhaps maybe are using Teams. It is very important that you speak to someone with the IT skills, so your perhaps IT department if you have one, or MSP, your service provider, to ensure that there is a limit placed on who can create teams, because the out-of-the-box behavior of Microsoft Teams is every member of staff can create. Now, that sounds great, but you will wish it wasn't that setting within about a week, as it will just go crazy and you'll have more teams than you have staff, and it will become messy very, very quickly. So top tip one, make sure that there is a restriction placed on who can create teams. That's usually down to a small subset of people, so you can have a structure that matches what the business wants. So in my little scenario here, I have just created 3, the staff hub, the finance and the sales. Clearly you will create teams to suit your business. But in these kind of unusual times, we're just looking at how we can get groups of people to communicate and collaborate quickly and easily. Okay, so the creation of a team, let's just talk about that, because that really is incredibly simple. But bearing in mind that the people that can do this should be a subset, but out of the box, anyone can do this. So create a team. I can choose from one that exists or from scratch. I have 3 choices. They're pretty obvious, really. Perhaps the middle one is less obvious. Public kind of infers that everyone can see it. Well, that's right, but it's everyone inside your organization. Doesn't mean they're a member of it, but they can join it if they wish to, and they can also choose to leave it if they wish to. Private is by invitation only, and organizational wide is you're in it whether you like it or don't like it. So each of them have their strengths and weaknesses as to what a business wants to achieve. In this case here, I'm going to choose private and be highly original. Give it a name, why it exists, and create. Okay, everyone can be an IT admin. That's how easy that is. Okay, job is done. Now in the background, Microsoft are going away and building all the necessary bits that make this work. Because I chose private, I can now choose who to invite to these teams. So I'm just going to choose a couple of people from our business, and I'm going to add them. At this point here, I get to choose what level of permission they have. Now, this is where you devolve responsibility down to maybe department heads or people within a department who can take responsibility of said team. Finance team might have a finance manager, finance director, whatever it be. There could be multiple owners, so I could set one of these to, let's make Tim an owner, okay, Gianni a member, done. There you go, that's been created. I can now drag and move these to wherever I want. So I now have my test team. You might find there are certain things whilst Microsoft are going and building that are limited. I'll just give you a silly example. If I go to manage the team, which is on permissions, and I click here, it says we're still setting up your team. Okay, so it's usable, but there might be certain areas that you might find you can't get to. Give it 15, 30 minutes and all the features will be available. Okay, so that's how easy it is to create a team. So let's go up to one at the top here. When I create a team, as you can see for the test team and the vanilla, they both have a consistency in the fact they have a name I gave them and a name of general. The name general is called a channel. So I have a team, which I named, and a channel called general. And you see that's consistent across all of these. So I have channels underneath the team. If we now look down towards the sales team, I do have the general, but I also have Asia, Europe, North America, and managers. These are basically slices of the pie. If we take the pie being the whole sales team, and I have divided the sales team up into channels. Why you want to divide into channels is very much up to a business, but it can be useful, particularly if the team is large. Okay, or the last one here, you might notice for your eagle-eyed, it has a padlock because that is a private channel. You've seen a private team exist by invitation only because I just went through that. Well, I also can create private channels. So that means I can have 100 people accessing the sales team, but only 5 people accessing the sales managers, and the other 95 people won't even see that that exists. So I can divvy it up if I wish. So I have a team and a channel. I can have multiple channels. Based upon the permissions of the person, if they're an owner, they can create channels. When they create a channel, they are asked whether they're standard or private. An ordinary member cannot participate in creating channels or teams, hopefully. Okay, so now let's just dive into a channel. This is default, again, vanilla. Every channel, when created, will have at the top posts, files, and wiki, as in Wikipedia. Okay. And as you can see, there is some notifications coming up because I've added people to various teams. Okay, it's highlighted down here. So what we have in posts, and it doesn't matter which one I look at, though they're all separate teams with their own channels, and I will only see these based upon the permissions. Okay, they are consistent. Okay, they are consistent. So what are posts? Posts, everyone's probably used iMessage, WhatsApp, any sort of instant messaging platform. That's what this is. So in a true sense, when we talk about communication and collaboration and people working from home or wherever they might be on any device, remember phone, tablet, PC, Mac, don't care, you've got this facility. So I could just send a message in here. It's just a simple message to, now that message I've just sent isn't aimed at anyone, but everyone who is a member of that team sees it. Now, whether they put any importance to that message or not, it's unlikely because it's not aimed at them, but it's there, it's information. It's a bit like having a newspaper. You don't read a newspaper from front to back. You just cherry pick the bits that are important to you that you're interested in. Okay, but if I want to make it, there we go, Tim's seen it and he's replied and he's put my name in there. You see it's highlighted in red and it's put a red circle on the right hand side with an @ sign, and the @ sign is called a mention. Okay, so let me just do a new conversation, and this time I will actually mention Tim and Gianni. Okay, you see I've hit the @ sign and their names have appeared straight away. So I might put morning Gianni and @ sign Tim. How are we today? Okay, so I fire that off and they are going to get a notification in the same way that you might get a message on your phone. Okay, they're going to get notifications like you might get an email, an iMessage or a WhatsApp message. Of course, those notifications could become irritating, and yes, of course, you can turn those notifications and mute them and all the other stuff that you would expect. But that is called a mention. That has fired something at the individuals, and they basically now will see that. Pretty straightforward. And as you can see, Gianni's replied, and again, he's used a mention of me. Now, what happens if in this is a staff hub and I want to get a message to all staff? Okay, and poor Tim's having to listen to me. Okay, what happens if I want to get it to everyone, like sending an email to all? Okay, so if I want to make things feature rich down here, rather than the quick fire where I can just type something and hit enter, type something and hit the enter key, bang, it's gone. Very quick fire. If I click the editing sign down at the bottom, the window expands. And now actually hitting the return key doesn't send the message. I've actually got to go down to the bottom right hand corner and hit send. Okay, so now I can make things very feature rich to get a message across. It might even be an announcement, I could put an image in there and whatever I want. And I want to get this to the whole team, everyone. I don't want to type everyone's individual name, so I'm going to type the name of the team. And you'll notice it's come up. A silly message, I appreciate. I can obviously here got all the bolding and highlighting that you could imagine, bullets, all of the advanced formatting, and I can mark it as important. I can put in here, if I want that only certain people can reply, you can moderate, I can post it in multiple channels, etc., all sorts of stuff. And, if you want to get fancy down here, there's GIFs, there's emojis, etc. and I can attach files, which is important because it might be a guidance, might be a policy, a procedure. So I can add files that perhaps don't already exist, and we haven't talked about files yet. And then I can send it. That will have gone to everybody. They will all be notified in Awana. It will be marked as important, as you can see. They will get effectively a bolding and an exclamation mark and a notification on their smartphone, tablet, PC, whatever. Great. That is instant messaging. It's not a surprise to anyone. Probably the one that people don't realize is what drives people mad with Teams. They type something, hit the enter key because they want to do a carriage return. It sends the message. Okay, and to mitigate that, choose the editing button. Okay, down at the bottom. Okay, so we can communicate with people very easily in an instant message format, very, very straightforward. Okay, but perhaps we want staff also to be able to collaborate and work. Oh, of course we do. So I'm going to have files, and I'm going to have files available to them. Okay, so that they can work and communicate and collaborate on your files. So I'm just going to click on an Excel file here. It will open inline in Teams without actually popping out. I can actually have it pop out into Excel, desktop Excel or desktop Word, desktop PowerPoint, etc. Or I can edit it in PowerPoint online, Word online, Excel online, or I can edit it within Teams. I've just chosen to do it that way for the ease of this presentation. I can put comments in, I can do all the usual stuff that you might want to do in Word for most people anyway. I think there's probably about 50% of the features that you'd have on the desktop version. Maybe I'm being a bit generous, but considering 90% of users use less than 10% of the features, there's probably 100% of what most people need. But I can now mention people here. Yeah. Can you have, I can't type. Check numbers. Okay, and send that. There is actually a button down here where I can start a meeting about this file. Well, I'm not going to go that far at the moment. So, okay, so conversation's going. Gianni might reply whilst I'm in line looking at it. He can edit that file at the same time as me. About 15 people could be in one file at a time, and the system will hold 500 changes to every file, called versioning by default. Okay, I'm going to close this because what will be apparent if I go back to the posts. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Tim. Is you'll see that the Excel file and the conversation is in the conversation stream, the posts. So I like to call it one version of the truth. There's no escaping what's going on. Everyone can see it. It's transparent straight away. So we have our posts. We have our files. That is vanilla. Okay, Wiki, as much as it goes in there by default, it tends to be one of the first things I delete because it's not something most people want. Again, you have to have the permissions. So I might just choose to remove that page and it's gone. But on the other hand, I might choose to add extra features in here. So I might have an online portal to another system that staff use, or whatever it be. And you can see there's a whole host of things I can pin in here. I can keep going up and down on a very long list. Probably getting more advanced for what I want to talk about today. But you know, if in a website, I could just put Google in there, and you know, I mean, that's a silly example, I'll grant you. Okay. Google won't let me do that. Probably a bad example. Sorry, everyone. It does work. So that will allow me to put third-party connections to third-party systems in place. Okay. So basically, simply put, you can extend the functionality with tabs across a channel. So quick recap, I've got a team, I have channel or channels, and within channels, I have tabs. Okay, and people can communicate and collaborate with files and talk about files and talk to each other. Okay, down at the bottom, there is a Meet Now feature. That I'll show you other meeting options, but whilst we're here, I'll talk about it. There is an ability to click that, and it wants to. I'm not going to let it do it at the moment because I'm using my microphone and so forth. Okay. So, yeah, it's blocking everything. There we go. It's come up. But I can schedule a meeting down here. Okay. But that's probably not the best way to do it. But I can have an instant meeting. Okay, so let's just take a step back then. I'm going to go back to my teams. I'm going to go to the sales team where I have got a general channel. I've got an Asia channel, European region, North America, and I said I have a locked one here. So this here has specific permissions where I can add people to the sales manager channel and give people access if I so wish. And yeah, you'll see, because I haven't invited people in, it will not allow me to add anyone in that isn't a member of the team. So what we will have, if I manage that, is I can add member to the sales managers. And I don't think I've invited anyone, so this will probably be correct. Yeah. Okay, so if I go to the sales team, add member, I'm going to add Tim, I'm going to add Gianni, add them both. One member's in. Okay, and now they're in the team, I can make them a member of the sales manager's locked one, if I so wish. Okay, all pretty straightforward, I'd like to hope. I'm going to now talk about how do I have private conversations, okay? Because it's all well and good having a conversation in a general channel and posts, but it's effectively open to everyone who's a member. Well, I do have a chat facility, which is private, it's one-to-one. So here I've got conversations with Claire, who deals with all our finance, and effectively conversations between myself and Claire. Okay. And they are private between myself and Claire, no one else sees them. We have over time shared lots of files. They tend to be invoices where she's asking me for expenses, etc. Okay, so I can have private one-to-one chats in here. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of mine because could be something sensitive in there because they're private. Okay, but that's just like having a chat where you might send a one-to-one message from your phone to your wife, to your brother, to your sister, to your children, whatever it be. Okay, so they're private one-to-one chats as opposed to a team chat, but they work exactly the same way. So what about productivity in terms of having meetings? Well, a number of ways this can be done. If I look at good old Microsoft Office, and this could be done from your Microsoft Outlook, I'm just going to go to the calendar that is built in. And I actually in here can create new events. This is a reminder that I'm actually doing this 23 minutes ago. I'm going to click new event. And I can call this a Teams meeting in Outlook. I can invite people, whoever I want. Obviously, I can choose a time, no surprise. Just choose something in the future. Okay, I can use the scheduling assistant, but anyone, this is just normal Outlook behavior. Okay, the key thing is that slider button there, Teams meeting. So at this point here, when I send this, everyone is available. It's telling me I send, they are going to get an invitation to that Teams meeting. Okay, and there it is. And what they will see basically is this, and they accept. And they will end up in a Teams meeting. If you've got the various add-ins, we do. So we have a kind of dial-in number for people that can't join using online systems. Might be, you know, in an area where you've only got your phone and you don't have 3G, but you can call in. Okay. So there are add-ins to extend the functionality of Teams for traditional dial-in conferencing. Gianni's just accepted. So you can run that from Outlook, very straightforward. Okay, you can also do it, of course, in Teams, no problem whatsoever. You'll see that's the one I've just booked, but in here I've got two types of meeting, a live event, that's what I'm doing now, or I can schedule a meeting. The inference here is that this is a Teams meeting because I'm doing it in Teams. Okay, so again, and I can put in whoever I want within the business using the same two sacrificial lambs. Okay. And it's giving me suggested times because it knows they're free. Okay, you can go in the scheduling assistant up here to find that out. Right, channels. I've talked about channels. So I can publish this meeting into a team channel. If I do, despite I've only added 2 people in, anyone in the channel above these 2 will also be able to join. It is effectively an open meeting for anyone to join. So we have our staff briefings at the moment with everyone working from home in exactly this manner, where we publish the meeting into a team where everyone in the business has access, and it tells them on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 o'clock, we've got a 30-minute briefing. Okay, but if I don't put a channel in, it will remain a private conversation between the 2 people invited. I can put in all my details that I want as ever for any meeting. Microsoft will add all of the links and all the information into the message that gets sent to the recipients. It will sort the rest out. Okay, just for the sake here, I will put in the finance team general. Okay, so I will actually publish this into a team so you can see it and send it. So I'm going to go back to finance and general, and there it is. So anyone who's a member of that team will obviously see it, and therefore they can join it. But I did invite 2 people to it. If I hadn't have mentioned the channel, it would have been a private conversation, of which that will be full audio, video, screen sharing, everything. It's a full audio video conferencing solution, does absolutely everything. I think Microsoft have seen it's gone from, in a week, they've gone from 32 million active users to 44 million in Microsoft Teams for purely all of that conferencing facility, so that people can do the face-to-face audio video meetings. All you need, headset, webcam. And most laptops have a webcam, so you just need a headset. I'm not going to lie, they're on pretty short supply these days, and people have figured it out. Okay, so again, quick recap. Talked about a team, we talked about a channel, we've talked about there are permissions to all of those teams and channels. We've then looked at the fact that we can have conversations and communicate by instant message. We've also seen we could communicate using meetings, video and voice. Okay, we can collaborate on files by uploading files in there and work in real time on the files. And bear in mind, I'm doing this all from a web browser on an Apple Mac. It doesn't even have to be a work computer if you want to be that open and flexible about it. Okay, it's all encrypted, it's all secure, it's all pretty damn safe. I mean, if the Ministry of Defence use Office 365, that's pretty good for me. So what I didn't say, actually, just as a quick recap, is on the private chat, if I'm talking to Claire, at the top right-hand corner, I can actually just click that handset icon and it will initiate an audio call to Claire. And it is a computer-to-computer or device-to-device calling, so she could answer it on a phone, okay, or a tablet, whatever device she has Teams running on, just like using FaceTime. But I can also elevate that to a video call one-to-one. Or if I click this button here to add people, I can have a very quick ad hoc video or voice call. So I have my communication, I have my collaboration, all pretty straightforward, okay, to get things going. So let's now really talk over how I kind of deal with the information that's in here, because people are going to start chatting to one another. Okay, so you can impose restrictions on what people can and cannot do. Okay, so down at the bottom here, for example, we've got mems, GIFs, so forth. You can limit all of those, and a team owner can do all of that. So we can now, if you want to be, in a sense, take some of the fun stuff, as Microsoft call it, away. So I'm going to take that away. Okay, so they've been gone. I can change the permissions of members. They're not owners, okay, which you probably do. I don't want them to be able to do certain things. I'm going to take all the permissions away, so all they can do is interact. Okay. Maybe you could even remove the ability for them to delete stuff that they post, but maybe that's a bit harsh. Okay, so there we go. There's a few changes made by a non-technical person can do this. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. I go back to general. You'll notice the icons have disappeared down at the bottom for GIFs and so forth. Anything cleverer than that, you're going to be speaking to an IT specialist, because you're going to need to go to the admin side of Teams in the back end, and you're starting to get quite geeky now. But there is a whole admin area with a whole bunch of policies and what you can, can't do. Okay, I'm just showing the kind of quick, easy, get it going, get it working process here. So we do have an element of permissions and control on what we can do with the team. So when you're happy with you've got that, and we've controlled what you want to control, I now have to deal with everything that's coming in, a bit like having to deal with your inbox if you're one of those poor people that get hundreds of emails a day, of which I will say, if you use Teams, you don't need to email each other. So that's a nice thing. I'm going to look at activity. Okay, and in activity, here is all the conversations that have happened whilst we've been talking, or I've been talking. Okay, and stuff that's been happening within our business actually, and stuff I haven't looked at in bold. I can filter these down if I so wish, okay, to just my activity only, or using the filter icon, I can choose, I just want to have unread stuff, just like an email, mentions where someone's actually talked about me, and you can see these icons are consistent down the left, so the @ sign, the @ signs. If I filter that, I will only get mentions. You get the idea. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so you can quickly filter that out, like you might filter your inbox in Outlook. Okay, so you can see what's going on. That's your kind of snapshot. Then what happens if I want to find stuff? Because, you know, it could be fast moving and it could be a lot of conversation. Well, as it says, as soon as I click in this, you've got it says a / or an @ sign for a list of commands. Actually, technically, you can message someone straight from here. So I actually can put Tim Mears. Yeah, there you go. That's gone. Is that simple? But what I can do is if I type in invoice, it's a pretty general one. Okay. These are all the conversations, funnily enough, I've had with Claire. As I said, she works in finance, to do with invoices. And it's mainly Claire in here, but nevertheless, it's picked up everything in there. All the files as well that I'm allowed to see, where the word invoice has been mentioned. There are no people called invoice, so that's kind of pointless. But if you're in a big organization, yeah, I type Tim Mears. So all messages, but it will pick up Tim Mears. If I click on that, it will drill into all my history with Tim. Okay, and all the files that I've shared with Tim Mears. Okay, so very, very quick and easy. Why anyone would actually want to start clicking around trying to find things. So when it says a / in the top here, you can issue a bunch of commands very quickly. Do not disturb is a good one, / DND. Okay, so set to do not disturb, quite useful. You get the idea, there's a few in there that are useful. A few of them you'll never probably use, but they are there. The available and do not disturb are frequently used by me personally. So talking about availability, top right hand corner, It says I'm presenting. It's done that. I haven't. It knows I'm presenting, so it's done that, but I could override it at this point here. I can set a status message. If I choose to save a message, it will be in my list, kind of like almost important stuff. And the bit I do want to bring you to is the settings, and there's only one reason I want you to bring in here, and that is notifications. And this is where you choose how you get notified, because some people quite rightly say, I don't want to be told every time someone likes a message I put up there or puts a smiley face or something. So I have mine off, but it's personal preference, of course, but this allows you to control. What I will say, the default behavior of this product is to send you an email. That's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy if the whole point of using this is to reduce email in a sense, but everyone to themselves. Okay, so you can choose how you're notified, and this will be then consistent across phone, tablet, whatever device you use. Quite an important one that it just lets you know. Okay, so kind of deep breath, just recap there. So we've gone through the Teams, we've gone through channels, we've gone through posts, we've gone through files, we've talked about private chat, we've talked about being able to have calls with people one-to-one, we've talked about having pre-booked conference calls. You can do broadcasts like I'm doing right now. The variance in there is mad. Okay, lots and lots of choice. You can filter and find everything through activity or the search window if you so wish. It's bringing in your Outlook calendar in there, to which again you can put your meetings in. So we've achieved a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication, okay, with a product that's running in a web browser that requires you nothing more than to sign in with your username, your password, okay? And as someone has created the Teams, you're off, okay? Yeah, you might need some headsets if you're going to make the best of it. And talking of which, because we've got add-ins, I actually have a calls icon, and my telephone number is actually attached. So whatever device I pick up, my actual DDI, my direct dial, is actually embedded in Teams. So it's following me around on my mobile, my tablet. You might think, God, that sounds like a nightmare. But it's also incredibly flexible because I'm now sat at home on a machine with a web browser and my phone is with me. Job done. Okay, the other bits underneath down here, I say, are very bespoke. We're getting into the more of the features of what Office 365 offers rather than Teams, but Teams is supposed to be a single pane of glass that brings all of the products into one. So for example, if you're a user of Planner, then you can bring all your plans into one location and see everything that needs doing, okay, and see stuff I've got to do. But this is very now getting probably far more bespoke to a business individual needs. So the only point I'm raising to you is that you have the facility to then build upon and make this one piece of software do an awful lot more for you. Okay, we probably at this point here, we're covering off the main areas and have really got to that. I now really want to finish off to point out there is a help area at the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, and in here there are topics, training, and what's new. So even if you did decide and don't have this in your business, but decide this might help over the next coming weeks and months, and how am I going to train my staff? Well, this is all FOC, it's built into the product. There's videos, yeah, learn about, you didn't even have to listen to me. I could have just told you it was down here and you go and sit and watch it. Okay, all of the bits in here, even for administrators. Okay, then on the training side, because everyone likes a video today, got all the videos, all in here, completely FOC built into the system. If you want more, then go to YouTube, type in Microsoft Teams channel. You'll end up on the Microsoft channel on YouTube, and it's basically all these videos. Okay, so it's all there, self-help for everyone. And my kind of getting towards the end now is at the very bottom, because I'm using a web browser, there is a hint for me to use the desktop application. So if this is a more permanent installation of Teams and the business is going to use it in anger going forward, then you would install the desktop application. It's just more feature rich, it's more powerful because it can use the grunt of the actual computer as opposed to just the web browser. I am using that right now to talk to you, hence I'm got the desktop application running my broadcast to you, and I'm also in exactly the same system in a web browser. So I've got to keep them separate so I can show you the products running. You can download the app FOC on your various app stores on various devices, and the only thing is required to make that function is a username and password that belongs to your Office 365 credentials. So pretty simple to take it simply. So if I just take a roll back and I was looking at a business that wanted Teams, you could buy into Teams very quickly. If you already have Office 365, then you already have Teams. If you're going to think about doing this, then firstly, limit who can create. Secondly, create the teams that you need for your business. Okay, and then get people to log on. That's it. You know, the rest of it, watch a bit of video training, and you can now bring a dispersed team of people closer together. It does take, what I will say in our experience, both internally as a business and externally with customers, is the biggest challenge is not the technology, it's the mindset of the individual, it's the psychology, the habit of the fact they're used to working our way and being able to spin their chair around and speak to Sam or Bob in the office. Now that person potentially, if they're home working, isn't there, their mindset has to change. And the tougher challenge is educating people to the fact that they are still there, but they're a couple of clicks away. And that's probably the bigger challenge rather than the technology itself. It is actually quite straightforward to get this in. Okay, so very shortly, I'm going to open up the Q&A side of things on the system, and that will allow people to publish questions. And I've just done that now. You should see on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a facility to open a Q&A panel, and it's become available. And by all means, people can punch that in there as I continue on just with the last few bits and pieces. And the last bit I'm going to talk about, which is definitely getting more advanced, is if I take you all the way back to Teams and the creation of Teams, there is absolutely technologically nothing stopping you creating. If you see down here, we have one called AOH, Account Management Team, and there is absolutely nothing stopping you creating teams and inviting your customers, clients external to your business to Microsoft Teams. They don't even need Teams. All they need is an email address, and then they create a password to access it, and now they can access it through a web browser securely, remotely, and you can have instant message conversations with those clients, those customers, video, voice, share files without sending files over the internet. Okay, so you can extend this functionality and bring even your customers and clients closer to you, particularly in these kind of pressing times, as it were. So the features that I've shown you that we're talking about internally for a team of staff can be extended externally, safely and securely to people outside your business also. Yes, I wouldn't jump into that without thought. So when it wants to be done, engage with your service provider, your IT professional, whoever you've got on site in order to do it properly. But it's not difficult. Once done, the collaboration increases exponentially. So a nice feature of a product that, as I said, I'll take you all the way back, that I'm just running in a web browser on a machine. It could be any machine. It doesn't even matter. It could be my son's. It's pretty damn flexible. I could be using my iPad to deliver this training. So very, very flexible indeed. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions that have come in. Okay, I'm just going to publish some of these. Okay. And I will publish these out so everyone can see them. So can you create Teams with people outside your organization or hold video calls with them? Yes, absolutely. They are called guests. So you create a team and you invite people as guests to your team. Sorry, I can't talk and type. It shows my actual mental ability, doesn't it? So yes, if I take this AOH account management, there will be conversations in the general between myself and external people. And if I just demonstrate this here, manage the channel. Sorry, I'll manage the team. Silly. And if I add a member, okay, I am adding myself to my personal email address. Okay, so it's not even a corporate one. I'm adding it and it will be a guest. Close. Notice the banner has appeared. This team has guests. Okay, so now Graham Fern, as an individual, pretend I'm outside of Axon, now is invited to this team. Okay, now to be honest, the sales team, that would be a bit mad. But it might not be if you're a contractor. Okay, so I can invite external people in here, no problem at all. Next question is, what's the most important feature of Teams? Your favorite, something that helps your productivity and communication every day? For me, it's a good question. For me, it is actually the instant messaging. I'm quite often, perhaps maybe even on the phone, and I want to communicate with someone, but I can't speak to them because I'm already on the phone. And the instant message, by far, the collaboration that we have between myself and the senior technical guys that I'm involved with on a day-to-day basis, doesn't matter where I am. I could be on a train. So instant message. Second to that is voice. Video is nice, but I know what everyone looks like, so I'm not that bothered about the video. So it is instant message and voice for me, for the best. And Simon, you've asked external video conferencing, how do you create it without a meeting in Outlook? Okay, you can create a meet now for that. So it is possible, okay, to create a meet now, okay, and then invite people in. So without creating a calendar appointment. Now I could do that in an external team, or I could create a team. I mean, even if I go for the calendar option, right? Let's just take this one here that I created earlier. Okay. Is that URL is in there. Okay. I can start that, and there is an option to basically get the meeting information from that. I can actually copy the link. Okay. I could actually start that meeting anytime. I could start it ahead of that. So I've kind of got that flexibility straight from a calendar, even if I want to do it. But in Teams, I do have the ability to do a meet now. Okay. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to publish another couple and publish another one. How long are shared files saved on the system for? Well, you know what? That's a damned good question. So about saved files. Okay. In fact, let me just, get the right area. So in here, I have a bunch of files. These files will persist arguably until someone deletes them, but we can get onto a more serious discussion because Teams and obviously the whole Office 365 is all data protection compliant, GDPR, and you can attach policies to here. So you can filter what's in here, of course. You can have what's called disposition policies, which says, let's say any file not modified in 5 years just gets deleted. Maybe in the finance area, that's not a good move because the HMRC require you to keep stuff for longer. So let me just highlight what you can do. So I'm going to click open in SharePoint. Okay, so I've now popped out of Teams. I'm in SharePoint. I'm going to click the file and I can apply a retention policy. And this one here 6 years, required by law to hold for 6 years. If I click that, that file there cannot be deleted by anybody for 6 years until it's 6 years in 1 day. And then it will email the head of finance and say, this file's 6 years and 1 day old. Do you want to delete it? Yes or no? So you can be quite clever, but I am drifting into basically features of Office 365. So it was an anonymous person that asked that question. So the files are stored indefinitely. They are not deleted by the system at all. Everyone at the very least, even if you had one user in your system, will have 1 terabyte of space available to you. If you've got 20, 50 or 100, you'll have more than a terabyte because you're given a factor on top of that 1 terabyte for every user you have in your system. And Joe asks, can we get a recording? At the end of this, I will download a recording. I'll then give it to our appropriate team who will publish out where that can be downloaded from or visible from. That's TBC at the moment, Joe. Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in at this moment in time. I have covered off the key parts of Teams. I will speak personally now. Is we migrated from, well, not having Teams to using Teams. It maybe I don't know if it's 3 years ago. I probably need someone like Tim to sanity check my timescales here. And even when we first put it in, there was an adoption change management, humans involved. But now, oh crikey, I couldn't imagine taking it away from our business. We hardly use email at all, which if anyone's got a cybersecurity head on and all the nasty scams that are going on because of the virus, means we're impervious to that. So biggest step change we made was moving to this type of platform. Been a monumental change for us, and I can't think of it being any other way. Okay, so we have a couple more. Okay, I'll just publish a few more questions. Yes. Okay, put those into the open for everyone to see. How can you structure, organize a team share for a company already has a SharePoint account? That's not a problem at all, because one of the options actually in here is you can, in Teams, is you can embed in your files area existing SharePoint sites. You see it says add cloud storage. So we don't allow other third-party cloud storage, but by default it will have Dropbox and Google Drive and everything else. We obviously, for data leakage, we don't want that. That would be pretty mad. So, but we have SharePoint. So if you've got an existing SharePoint site, you could front up, let's say, a finance area that you've already got in SharePoint, create a team called finance, click that button and bring in the existing SharePoint setup. It will not stop Microsoft or the automation of the system creating a new storage area. Okay, but for a get going, easy. Create the team, click that button, put the URL in, job done. Explain to the users this is where it is and how you access it. All the permissions will still apply to what's already on your SharePoint site now. I would say probably going forward, you'd probably want to look at migrating it from where it is to the new SharePoint location that Teams has created, but that's a maybe. Okay, so that was questions. Can meetings be recorded? Yes, absolutely. I did one yesterday to basically a trust, a school trust, at about 150 people on a call, a conference call, and it was recorded 1 hour long. I've got the video, wrapped it up, put it in my OneDrive, shared it with the person that was organizing it. They've now got that video, bang. Those people that have Office 365 enterprise plans, when you record, it automatically drops the video into Microsoft Stream. So if no one's any idea what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, I'm going off on another subject matter here. Okay, every enterprise plan has Microsoft Stream, which is your own YouTube for company data. And in here is, there it is, yesterday's 19th of the 3rd. There it is, 1 hour and 1 minute long. Okay, and that is the whole thing recorded and stored. from yesterday. Slightly different for a broadcast because you're coming in all anonymous, but actually yesterday everyone's told it's been recorded and they have a facility to effectively download it as well. And add-ins. Okay, that's a good question. Okay, there are a lot of add-ins, and for those that are asking those more technical questions, for us, the biggest add-in that's of use to us, and I'm afraid this is a selfish us, is this one here. It's Dynamics 365, because we use that. That's our CRM product. So what we do is we embed our CRM into Teams. So when I have a client, we embed the client's account details into the team. But other people use other systems, so let's be clear. You know, the world isn't flat. It's not just according to Microsoft. There are other things out there, and you can pretty much see that's a pretty long list in here. So if you're using a different CRM product, Salesforce, let's say you use Intercom on your website for instant message chat with customers on your public website, embed it into here. Yeah, there's a lot in here. So the add-ins, hard for me to say favorite. I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you here. We are a Microsoft specialist, so we use Microsoft software because that's what we do. So we tend to use most of these, but we have some third party. We use MailChimp, I think. Not that I'm a marketing type person. What I will also say to people of a technical nature is there is also an ability to add connectors to this as well. Okay, and connectors are a more powerful version of an app, so you can do direct connections to systems that might already exist. And again, that list of connectors is variable, and Microsoft add, and obviously the third party has to have created the necessary APIs. Sorry for the techie terms. Okay, hopefully I've answered that. Okay, so Joe's asked another good question. Okay, Joe, is broadcasting an add-on? It's an enterprise plan. You do need to have an Office 365 enterprise. The small details is people might have Office 365 Business Premium. That is made up of what's called Plan 1 of all the products that it's within. Enterprise plans are made up of Plan 2. Basically, and simply put, Business Premium is cut back, lightweight, and actually doesn't have all the bells and whistles. And the enterprise plans is all nothing. There's nothing not there. It's got everything. So if you have an enterprise plan, stream, broadcast facility is all available to you. The only way to start a broadcast, it is quite this simple, Joe, is literally, I would read up on it first, but click live event and go through the settings. Again, guess what? YouTube's handy, but there is Microsoft documentation. By all means, if you kind of speak to our guys, we can furnish you with that type of information, and you could then deliver training to workers. You could record it, store it, put it in stream, then the workers could go back to stream at any time. Okay, let's look in here. We've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. Workers can come back and look at these videos just like YouTube. You've got to have an enterprise plan. If you don't know what I'm talking about and it makes no sense, then just give your service provider a ring. If they don't know, then I'd scream help, and then give us a ring and we'll explain it. Okay, so very easy to do a live event indeed. And I think that's answered Joe. No, Joe, you asked another about the broadcast too. It doesn't show you who's attended. It's up to the individual. Sorry, it's not up to the individual. It is anonymous or allows anonymous. Therefore, it can't record it. A broadcast, one of the options is to make it public. And that's what I've done today. So therefore, I get no record, no capture, nothing. Okay, which we promised that we weren't doing because this wasn't some sort of sales pitch. It was just to help people. If I set it to private and by invitation, yes, I'm going to know who's in. Yes, I'm going to be able to record who was in my meeting. And the same goes for a scheduled meeting. I can see who's in the meeting. I actually have a virtual lobby and I actually add people in when I'm happy to, and then I can see everyone that's in there. But in this broadcast today, I chose anonymous and it was open to everyone, so I have no record, but you could operate it differently. another anonymous one here. What's the best way for a leader to manage a team remotely with Teams? One-to-ones you would do over over chat. So when we look on the left-hand side, click chat, and you can start a chat off here by clicking new and type someone's name or create a group of people. Yeah, we've got one here. There's 4 people in this. These are all initials of people, ASGPGFRB. Okay, so you can have more than one person, or you can have one-to-ones. So a manager can have one-to-one conversations, all private, and a manager can have an audio call one-to-one with any team member or a group within the team, maybe all the team. Okay, and of course they can do that, and they can share files privately in the chat facility. Everything that happens in the team is everyone in the team. So if, let's say, there's 20 people in a team and 3 of them are managers, I would probably go to chat, add the 3 people into my chat, say, right, you know, if I just show you here, I'll just put Tim, Richard. In fact, what I'll do is Tim, Ben, right, and Tim Massey, right. If I click down here, that is going to be private between those 3 people. So just a test. That's gone to those 3. No one else can see it. If I click the call button up here, it will bring all 4 of us together. So as a manager, I can have conversations off grid, for a better phrase. Okay, outside of the team functionality, I could have a video call. Tim's just replied. I'm not going to make a call because I'm talking to you. But if I click that button, I'm going to be in an audio call. If I click that button, I'm going to be in an audio video call. Okay, I can share files with the team. I can chat with the team. So hopefully that answers that one. So just publish a couple of others. Can meetings be recorded? Yes. Can you hide historic previous messages? No is the answer. You could put a policy in to clean up historic messages. Okay, we're talking about data disposition and cleaning everything up. Okay, but by default, the whole purpose, to be perfectly honest, is that there is a history, always persistent. Okay, so this will always persist until you put in a policy that says maybe after 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever you want, it then cleans them away. Okay, but right now, and that's basically, I think, it's answered the question. So there isn't a hide, there is effectively a removal and disposition. Now we start getting into the clever stuff now, but all messages here are logged and kept and audited. They are all accessible through what's called the e-discovery center. You can place conversations on litigation and hold. In fact, I'll be careful there, that's a feature that's coming. Okay, and that's all getting very enterprisey. Okay, where you can effectively write in stone so people can't backtrack, even though they delete things and try and cover up. And that is more for legal reasons rather than anything else. Okay, great question here. And this is, can a new team member get access to older messages within Teams before joining? Yes is the answer. If I'm having a private conversation though, and I add a 4th member in, so if we go back to my chat here, okay, and I've just done that, and we've got a chat. If I add a 5th person in to that chat, look, it says, do I want to include the chat history or do just the last day or all? So in a private chat, you can choose how much you want to let the new person see. In private chats, in a team chat, the inference is because they joined the team, they're now part of the team, they can see everything that's in there that you've given them as member rights. So they would see everything if they chose to scroll back 6 weeks, 6 months, or maybe 6 years. God knows why you'd want to be doing that, but you could do it. So there's a subtle difference there. Okay, I've answered all those questions. I see no new ones coming in. I've taken a lot of time already, just over that hour that I kind of promised. If there's any burning last questions, I'll literally give you a couple more minutes to ask them. Otherwise, we'll bring this to a close. What I will say as I depart here is there's an immense amount of information online on how to use this product. It's incredibly simple to get up and running. There are a few bear traps knocking around. I have highlighted that, okay, in terms of not allowing free for all for everyone to create teams, etc. So there's a little bit of thinking, but once that little bit of thinking is done, the implementation is quick, the deployment is quick. The biggest challenge is people. Okay, so that's my kind of parting bit. And Kate, you've got the last one in there. I think are files in chat history separate versions of a file or links back to the original? It links back. All the ones in the chat actually are just a fake, if you want to call it, a virtual link back to. So when we go back to a team chat and there's this Excel file we see here, that Excel file is actually referenced to its permanent location, which is actually stored in SharePoint. If you know what I'm talking about, if you don't worry about it, but its location where it sits is permanent, and therefore version control is maintained. To just show you what I mean is if I open in SharePoint, most people don't need to do this, okay? I can actually see who has access. I can actually find out who's changed anything today, okay, on this. As I said, no one has, etc. But also I've got my version control in here as well. Those files will persistently stay in SharePoint and can be protected or whatever you want to a ridiculous level. But we are getting onto features of Office 365 as opposed to Teams. So hopefully, Kate, that answers your question. Right, I'm going to wind down now. We did share a lot of this information over social media and alike. We'll leave it to our sales marketing team to decide where we'll put the video that will have been created from today. People can refer back to it. But right now, till such time you want to hear my dulcet tones again, as I've said, go online, a lot of information. If you get stuck, speak to your IT specialists. If they can't help you, you know we can. That's it. Everyone be safe, etc. in these weird times that we're faced with. Hopefully you can all remain productive and communicate. Thank you for listening, much appreciated, and goodbye for now.